Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the MultiDimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about 8 supplements to support blood sugar balance. And a really big topic, it's come up multiple times. I sat down in meditation, and this is what I wanted to talk about because I wanted to combine that intuitive aspects, but I also wanted to combine that with logic and reasoning and what we know in research and our experience and knowledge. So it's really integrating all of those dimensions to use the best of all worlds to make decisions for our health. Also, today is a really big day for me. It's my dad's heavenly birthday. And so just a shout out to him because he has been helping me for the last 2.5 years, but since he's crossed over, and so in a very different way. And it's a big part of my mission because it's just being able to connect with spirit. And my mission is to bring back the intangible aspects or the seemingly intangible aspects of health, those intuitive aspects, those mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access more peace, love, and joy in your everyday lives and experience deeper healing. So, how would you know if you have any signs of blood sugar imbalance? There are so many different things. It could be you feel a little trembly or shaky, kind of dizzy, having difficulty focusing, feeling kind of ADHD. You could feel weak or fatigued. You could feel hungry in between meal times, so maybe it's not lasting. You could feel kind of nauseated. Your heart could be racing. You could get irregular heartbeats or palpitations. You could have sugar and carb cravings. And you could be waking up at night, so not sleeping well or a bit more restless. You could have symptoms of PMS, headaches, frequent infections, or perhaps wounds aren't healing as quickly as they could. You can also have increased fat storage, especially in the abdominal area. So if you have multiple of those things, then listen up because I'm going to go over 8 supplements that can help support blood sugar balance. And we could all, many of these things are healthy things that could be incorporated into our diets and lifestyles. So I'll go through the supplement versions, I'll go through some herbs, I'll go through food options that you can get certain nutrients from and put it all together. And at the very end, I'm also going to go over considering some energetic aspects of blood sugar imbalance. So the first thing is vitamin K2 that I talked about in episode 150. That's from last week. And this is a form of vitamin K. It can help reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes and help the B cells in the pancreas increase production of insulin. So that basically increases insulin sensitivity as well. And it has a favorable effect on obesity with reduction of both abdominal and visceral fat. So amazing. I know a lot of people talk about difficulty with weight loss and difficulty with their metabolism. And we know as we get older that our metabolism decreases every decade. And so there are things that we can do to help to level that off. In terms of vitamin K2, especially the MK7 version, this is something that you can get as easily as a supplement. Fortunately, more companies are more aware of it. About 30% of people are deficient in K2. Most children and people over age 40 are deficient. So consider this, and it helps to bring calcium to the bones. So if you want to know more about it, look at episode 150 for more details on vitamin K2. You can get it through some other healthy foods, natto, which is fermented soy, sauerkraut, or think of fermented foods, or grass-fed animal products like butter, yogurt, eggs, organ meats, and some cheeses, which are grass-fed animal products and also fermented. So go to episode 150 again for more information on that, because I talked a lot about vitamin K2 and I really want everyone to know this information because it is out there in the literature, but not always known, and the specialists aren't always talking about it. So I want to talk about it for you. The next one on the list is alpha lipoic acid. This is not the same as alpha linoleic acid, which is an omega-3 fatty acid. So both are abbreviated often as ALA, so there can be some confusion there. Alpha lipoic acid is an antioxidant made inside the mitochondria, or energy organelles inside each cell, and it helps turn glucose into energy that we need. We need glucose. We need sugar. Sugar itself isn't bad. We need it for energy. It's how we process it, how we metabolize it, and it's how we're getting it in our diets. So there are ALA, or alpha lipoic acid, is both fat and water soluble, so can work throughout the body. It helps to lower blood sugar levels if they're high, and it can also help with diabetic peripheral neuropathy, so tingling, numbness in the hands and feet. And that they found that more with IV dosing, but even with oral dosing, it can help with what is called autonomic neuropathy. And this is with imbalances in the autonomic nervous system. So it can help affect anything that the autonomic nervous system affects, which is a lot: sweating, heart rate, breathing rate, palpitations, dizziness, digestion. So many things. If you have any autonomic imbalances, then consider alpha lipoic acid. It is an organosulfur compound, so think of sulfur foods, including the cruciferous veggies in terms of food sources: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale. You can also find it in organ meats. This is why pâtés were really popular before, in terms of just getting those nutrients into our bodies. But you have your choice of vegan options versus animal options. So again, possible interactions for any of these things: it can lower blood sugar. So just if you're taking any blood sugar medications, then just be wary of that. And alpha lipoic acid could possibly interact with chemotherapy, or could possibly lower thyroid levels. So think of it if you have higher thyroid levels, and could lower B1 thiamine. But in the doses that we use, it should be safe and okay. So anyway, currently this is for the next one. Hold on one second. This is for NAC. So the next one I'm going to talk about is N-acetylcysteine, which is really interesting because this is an amino acid that is an FDA-approved drug. So this makes it a little bit tricky, because the FDA has been debating whether to remove it from the supplement list. And their argument is that it was an FDA-approved drug before it was used as a supplement. So there is a battle on that right now. The last thing they said in August 2022, they haven't started any enforcement of taking it off shelves as of yet. It is very safe to use as a supplement. It's actually what is used in Tylenol toxicity or poisoning to help increase glutathione levels and to help protect the liver. So what NAC does, it increases the body's major antioxidant, glutathione, because it is a component of glutathione along with two other amino acids, glutamine and glycine. And in a trial of 76 people with metabolic syndrome, so metabolic syndrome is having 3 of the 5: high blood sugar, low HDL, which is a good cholesterol, high triglycerides, large waist circumference, high blood pressure. So if you had 3 of the 5 of those, that is metabolic syndrome. So they were given 1.8 grams of NAC in divided doses for 12 weeks. And they had significant reductions in fasting blood glucose, in fasting insulin, and CRP, which is an inflammatory marker. It increased the HDLA and increases your glutathione levels. So all good things. And now, people that come to see me tend to be very sensitive, so always start with much lower dosing and go up as you're tolerated. If you need help with that, of course, I'm here for you. I'm happy to help you. There are also some other studies involving women with insulin resistance associated with PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they use similar dosing. So again, cysteine is an amino acid, so you can find it in high protein sources, including nuts, seeds, beans, eggs, poultry. So, but not everyone is getting enough of it, and often you won't get as high amounts unless you supplement. So it's not that you need every single one of these supplements, but when people come to see me, I'll pick the ones that I feel are the best suited for them, given their background, but given what they're experiencing, given what their symptoms are. So I use my experience, my knowledge, what I've read, what I've studied, and I also use my intuition because I also feel out what does this supplement feel like for this person energetically? Is this something that I feel would be beneficial for them? How do I feel they're going to tolerate it? Because dosing is a big deal, and also um, even if something sounds like it's going to be good for someone, there are different energetic properties, and so not everyone responds to the same supplements in the same way. So different things to consider like that. Okay, so the next one, this is number 4 on the list, 4 out of 8. This is inositol, which is sometimes called vitamin B8. Inositol is actually not a vitamin. It is a sugar made in the body and also found in foods, especially high fiber foods. So there are various forms of inositol. The most researched are myo-inositol and D-chiro-inositol. And there are mixed opinions on which one to use, but sometimes it's not really even labeled what form it is. If it's not labeled, then my assumption is it's myo-inositol, although I know we really shouldn't assume what form it's in. We can always get in touch with the companies. So food sources would include fruits, especially citrus. Oranges are really a high source of inositol, also grapefruit, some lemon. Cantaloupe is a high source of inositol, cherries. So again, think fiber-rich foods, including whole grains, beans, sprouts, and also some veggies, including green beans, okra, and artichoke. So some of these things that I'm mentioning, these are healthy foods, part of a healthy diet and balanced ratios. So we can get them through food sources, but if you supplement, there is evidence that, again, it can help with metabolic syndrome as well as gestational diabetes and polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of these things are related with insulin resistance, and so that difficulty regulating blood sugars. And the doses that they were using, it was about 2 grams to 4 grams a day in divided doses, and that seems to be well tolerated. There are higher doses that are used, but in those doses, it seems that most people are able to tolerate it without any reports of GI symptoms and those side effects, unwanted side effects. So again, dosing and type of inositol supplements may vary. There's another study that showed that 2 grams twice a day reduced triglyceride levels by 34% and total cholesterol by 22%. And what was interesting is that 20% of the women in that study no longer met criteria for metabolic syndrome by the end of the study. So if you wanted to try it, you could try it for 6 months, you could try it for a year. It's often combined with folic acid in about 400 micrograms. That can be helpful for gestational diabetes and type 2 diabetes as well. So going on, number 5 is magnesium. So low levels of magnesium are associated with insulin resistance. And low levels are also associated with loss of appetite, nausea, muscle cramps, muscle twitches, tremors, fatigue, palpitations, high blood pressure. So you can see there's some overlap here with what's what if you have like trouble regulating blood sugar. So the magnesium is involved in over 300 enzyme processes, and it is a really important mineral to have. And if you aren't sure if you have if you're deficient in magnesium or not, then you can always take labs. You can always do an RBC magnesium level. There are many different sources of magnesium. If you wanted to get it through food sources, look at your green leafy veggies, again, spinach, kale, collards, beans, nuts and seeds, whole grains, including oatmeal and whole grain bread, and watch the ratios that you're eating those in. So you definitely want to follow an alkaline diet. And if you haven't watched my video on alkaline diet, then that is a really great one to have some ideas of what is a healthy diet to lean towards. Magnesium is also available in many different supplement forms. So if I had to pick one to use for blood sugar, regulation, then I would pick magnesium glycinate. It's much better absorbed. It's well tolerated. If you have trouble moving your bowels, then you could consider some other sources of magnesium supplements. But with magnesium glycinate, we can often use lower doses in, I would say, about 300 milligrams per day. You can also get magnesium through Epsom salt baths or sea salt baths. So think about it in those ways too, topically, through food sources, or through supplements. So going on, the next one is ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is an adaptogen, which means it helps to strengthen the body and help to balance the immune system and balance the endocrine system. It's also known as Indian ginseng, and the scientific name is Withania somnifera. There are many other ginsengs, but this one is a very gentle adaptogen. The other ginsengs I find to be a lot more potent. They have a bit more of a punch. I like ashwagandha because, again, the people that come to see me tend to be more sensitive, and so I like to use things that are a bit more gentle. So typically the roots and berries of ashwagandha are used. It comes in powder form or in tincture or in liquid form or in capsule form. And it's been found to lower blood sugar and triglycerides. So it also helps the adrenal function, which is really important for blood sugar control because your adrenals produce cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And cortisol blocks insulin release and also tells the liver to increase glucose release. And that's for this short burst of energy because you're dealing with some sort of acute stress. The problem is that if you have chronic stress and you're still producing cortisol at higher levels, then the adrenals can start to tire, or you can be running at really high cortisol levels, and or you could go up and down too. So if you have high cortisol levels, you tend to have that wired and tired feeling. With low cortisol levels, you feel really flat and it's hard to get going. You can also have stages in between, or they could fluctuate through the day and night, and you could feel that. If you want to know more about the 3 stages of adrenal fatigue, then see episode 84 of the Multidimensional MD, and I go through that there, and it's really informative. So going on, the next herb that I want to talk about or a group of herbs are digestive bitters. So digestive bitters help you to digest your food better, hence the name digestive bitters. And they help you to release your body to release digestive enzymes starting from your mouth. So it helps you to release salivary enzymes. It helps your stomach release gastric juices. It helps your liver and gallbladder release bile, and helps your pancreas release digestive enzymes. It also helps your body to release insulin. Digestive bitters taken before a meal or in between can help decrease sugar cravings. It can also improve your gut flora and decrease bloating, and you can have them in like multiple food sources. We are meant to eat bitter foods. We are evolved to eat bitter foods so that it can help our digestion. So bitter foods include dark greens. Again, you're starting to see a trend here. Why healthy foods are actually so healthy for many reasons. Ginger is also more of a warming bitter. Dandelion is more of a cooling kind of bitter. Most bitters in general tend to be more cooling. So depending on your constitution, depending on your state, your energetic state, then you want to kind of pick bitters or combine it with like other things to match what you need. Like if you're really running hot, you don't want to like tons of ginger. You want to combine that if you take any ginger with some cooling ones. But if you are needing to get warmed up, then you don't want to take too many like cooling ones, and you want to take things that are warming. So ginger is warming, dandelions are cooling. There's bitter melon, which is also cooling, dark greens, citrus peel. So you can cook with those. Bitter melon is something that's often used in Asian cooking. It is very bitter, but if you saute it, it can kind of bring down some of that bitterness that people have to get used to. But as you get used to eating bitter things, you will find that your digestion improves, and then your taste for it can also improve because you start to get used to it. Okay, so one more, cinnamon. That is number 8. So cinnamon, especially the Ceylon cinnamon versus acacia, increases insulin sensitivity. It means it reduces insulin resistance, so you respond better to insulin, reduces blood sugar, decreases total cholesterol and triglycerides, also decreases the risk of heart disease and stroke, things that are related to metabolic syndrome. So doses at about 2 grams per day for 8 weeks can also lower blood pressure. Some caution if you're taking higher amounts of cinnamon, if you have liver issues, because there are some fat soluble components, including coumarin, that may raise your liver enzymes. So if you're using it as a supplement, then you can either choose to use water soluble components or a water extract that has a polyphenol type A polymer, or you could use a hydroethanolic extract, which is a mixture of water and alcohol tincture. And Cinnamon Force by New Chapter has some safe cinnamon extracts. So doses would start at about half a gram per day, which is about a quarter teaspoon, to 1 gram, which would be half a teaspoon. So when you think about using it for culinary uses, when you flavor it for taste, if you do that, you're not going to go over amounts that are dangerous because it won't taste good anymore. So there's something about getting it through food that is protective, like when we eat things, it helps to balance it out. So if you're taking a supplement, then you can probably take up to 6 grams a day or 1.25 teaspoons of cinnamon safely. I like to use it more as a culinary use, but they are available in safe supplements as well. So again, go with what your palate says, and your body is also, listen to that, your body telling you what is a good amount for you. The Ceylon variation does have more antioxidants and less coumarin, which is that liver toxic fat soluble component that's liver toxic in high amounts. And it's also, so Ceylon tends to be like a better cinnamon than the less expensive cassia cinnamon, which is more common, although both still have health benefits, and you can use either. But if you had to choose one, choose Ceylon. So that are my 8 supplements to help support blood sugar metabolism. And so one last thing is I wanted to talk about, consider what is going on energetically if you have blood sugar imbalances, even micro fluctuations. You get kind of lightheaded or you're feeling like your blood sugar is going down, you have to eat something right around. What is going on there? Why is it fluctuating? And so a couple things I want you to ask yourself is, how else can you sweeten your life? Where in your life do you feel that you need more sweetness? Maybe more sweetness to yourself, more kindness to yourself. So instead of reaching for that carb or sugar thing, that craving to fulfill it, then you can fulfill it internally for yourself in other ways of what you're thinking about yourself, about what your activities you're choosing for yourself, of who you're hanging out with, what makes you feel like life is sweet. Also, consider how can you digest your life better? What sorts of things are difficult to digest, difficult to take in, difficult to even like swallow, and or what is it, what parts of your life are difficult digesting? What can you do to tend to those things? What other parts of your life are easier to digest, and maybe how can you enhance those things? So these are great considerations and makes it much more multidimensional mind, body, spirit approach to health. Because if you keep pounding, even with the supplements, and you don't consider these bigger picture priority things in your life, then you will either plateau or you don't really have, it's like you only get so far. And so these are all things that really consider into having a more multidimensional perspective of living and ways to incorporate. So whether you are a practitioner or you are a patient, then have a more open mind. We will go through and put the chapters and the markers and the details. So if you want to go back and review anything, then you can. And I know there are so many other things. I see Dr. OMT asking if I mentioned berberine. I didn't mention berberine. I didn't mention fenugreek because I kept to 8 supplements, and there are so many other things we could talk about, and there are other lifestyle things we could talk about. So maybe we'll have to do that in a part 2 of blood sugar balance. If you have any other questions on other things, then please put them in the comments. And thank you so much, Nomad, remembering Dr. Armando Dihamco today on his heavenly birthday. Truly a remarkable man. I really appreciate all of you being here. And this sweetens my life, being here with you. So see what you can do to sweeten your life too. And I love interacting with people. I love connecting with you. So if you would like to connect with me in other ways, you can on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. You can connect with me with my news love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesday. So you can sign up on my website, which is allworlds with an S, allworldshealth.com. So lots of love to all of you. I so love being here with you, and I believe in you, so I hope that you believe in you too. And I will see you next week on Wednesday, somewhere around 11 a.m. to noon time, Eastern time, depending on when I can do it. And have a beautiful rest of your week. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'd love to give any general answers to them, and I will get back to everyone. So lots of love to you. Bye.